Good morning. It's just after 5 a.m. We are charging up to whatever we get near 100%. I think we're around 95 right now. We're going to hit the road and head to Ely for their Winterfest today and an EV car show at the Dairy Queen. I'm going to try to hit the Wolf Center, see some people up in Ely, and have a good time. So let's hit the road. Ready for adventures? We got here with about 40%. We're in Hinckley, and we got here about 7:10. We could have gone all the way to Carlton, but we needed a restroom break. So once I put this in, we were preconditioning, and you can see we're holding good at 144. All right, quick restroom stop. Ordered coffee before using the restroom. It was done when I came out. Joan's still in her pajamas, so Ellie and I just took turns. I think we got quite a bit of charge, but that's fine. We're not trying to be too frantic today. So the sun is coming up here in Hinckley. Well, it's at least getting lighter. Debating whether the next stop will be Carlton or Two Harbors, but I'll figure that out in the car. You guys have seen this route a million times, so not too much new to show. All right, got up to 78%. It's 7:29. Let's hit the road. Ellie decided she's driving. All right, at Black Bear Casino at 8:15, 47%. Whew. Just enough. Well, since Ellie was driving, I took a nap, so I didn't make a plan to see which was better, this or Two Harbors. But we're here, so that's good enough. We're charging up. We should be getting good speeds. Battery should be nice and toasty. We're going to get Joan dressed and use the restroom and be on our way. All right, we just finished all of our family stuff. Saying 1 minute to continue trip, so that worked out pretty well. We'll hang out here. We got to see what we're going to get to Hinckley with, or Ely with. So it's 34% now, so that's all right. There's charging up there. I've just been hemming and hawing here about whether we go to Two Harbors and have another meal restroom stop on a path we know. We can sit at the supercharger while we do that stuff and then go right up to Ely. Or if we can go the fastest way, which is 20 minutes shorter, but not a route I'm familiar with. But I think that means we should take it and find out what happens. We can come down the lake shore on the way home tomorrow for a change of pace. Let's do that. We're already at 94%. And let's get rolling. Now saying we'll get to Ely with 41 because I sat there and thought for 10 minutes. Not 10, 5 minutes. All right, so 94%, 844. Let's hit the road. Alright, we are stopped somewhere at the Y store at 10:11 for just a bathroom break quick. We're here with 52%. It's 28 degrees out, beautiful sunny, and looks like it's going to be a great day. Alright, 10:19. I have no idea how long that stop was, but it doesn't matter. We're on our way up to the Wolf Center. 52% still. We are at the International Wolf Center at 10:53 with 40%, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, and we've got some Clipper Creek Chargers back there, so we're going to give that a shot while we're looking at the wolves. Our trip coming up here was 266 miles, 94 kilowatt hours used, 353 watt hours per mile. This one's looking a little frosty, but we'll give it a try. Looks like there's power going to it. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but let's try it out. So the end was a little frosty, but we pulled it over, plugged in, turned green right away. So that's good. It's saying 5 hours to get to 100%, but obviously we're not going to be here that long, and we're not going to charge that high. Are you getting big for that? Just over 61%, still pulling 10 kilowatts. That's pretty consistent. We had a nice time at the Wolf Center, so time to unplug and get lunch, get over to the event. So at 10 kilowatts, that worked out really well. We're just over 60%, so gained a little over 20% in the hour and a half we were at the Wolf Center. So worked out great. We're gonna head over, get some lunch, and then meet everyone for the event at the Dairy Queen. And then we'll try to tidy up this cord a little bit too. So general rule with everything, leave it nicer than you found it, not hanging down in the frost. So Also, this is not an overnight parking. This is only available when the Wolf Center is open. But nice to get a charge here. Let's head out.
I didn't know it was that guy. In here already? What a bunch of nerds.
Well, we are at the Dairy Queen here, and not necessarily needing to charge, but they have quite a few chargers. Tough to see in the glare. These are Tesla only, and I think we'll get charged, but that's okay. If somebody else needs the spot, we'll move. We'll just give you the stats here quick. So here we're getting 12 kilowatts. So good energy, and we'll get set up to show the car.
Bachland, Senior Program Manager with the Transportation and Fuels team at the Great Plains Institute, and we are here with Drive Electric Minnesota doing the first winter ride and drive in Ely, Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm Alejandro Nakpil. I'm an electric mobility program associate with the Great Plains Institute, here with Drive Electric Minnesota, and really glad to be here. It's a beautiful day. We've got, a couple dozen people test driving, a bunch of EV owners, and it's great to be out here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Ely. So you guys are both with the Great Plains Institute. How does that tie in with Drive Electric Minnesota? Or do you just both happen to work at the same place?
Yeah, great question. So Great Plains Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it facilitates Drive Electric Minnesota. So Drive Electric Minnesota is a public-private partnership, but it's run through the Great Plains Institute.
And how many events do you guys do a year?
Well, we support a good number of them, but staff-wise, we probably do a handful, and the list keeps growing based on interest.
And is this mostly in northern Minnesota, rural Minnesota, or is it all throughout the state?
It's anywhere people want to work with us.
If someone has a group, they're an EV driver and they have a couple buddies in Winona or whatever, could they contact you and set up an event, or how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a ride and drive page on our Drive Electric Minnesota website, and that's how you can get a hold of us if you're interested in doing a ride and drive with us or contracting us to do a ride and drive. So that's often how the conversation starts.
For the vehicles that are being driven, are they manufacturer vehicles, personal vehicles? Where do those come from?
They are provided from dealerships and then also the Tesla store. So we've got Lundgren Ford here today with the Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning. And then we've got Tesla Rogers here with the Model Y and the Model X.
Excellent. And what has the reception been like from people attending?
Really positive, a lot of interest. People are really, happy that there's a ride and drive here, that they get to finally test it out. And yeah, just a great event to have people.
And a great day for it.
Perfect. Great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This big truck plugs in my cars. Is that pretty cool? Yeah.
I'm Casey Stanek, and I'm the Grants and Contracts Coordinator for the Minnesota Department of Transportation's Office of Sustainability and Public Health. That was a long-winded title. Ultimately, I'm going to be managing the grants for the NEVI program, which is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. So Minnesota was given $68 million from the federal government to deploy fast charging stations throughout the state. And so you might be aware that Minnesota has chosen two alternative fuel corridors right now. We identified I-94 and I-35 as our alternative fuel corridors. And those will meet up with other corridors in other states. So the idea is that you as an EV owner can travel across the United States and be confident if you're on an alternative fuel corridor that you are going to make the next charging station. And you can predict in Minnesota, charging stations are going to be every 50 miles along those corridors. The charging stations are no more than a mile off of the corridor. They're in places with 24/7 access, 24/7 access to food, restrooms. They're fully accessible, and they meet a high standard. They're also going to meet the large range of kilowatt hours that vehicles require for charging. They are going to be fast chargers.
Yeah, what are the minimum requirements?
Okay. Oh, I knew you were going to ask for the specifics.
Up to.
The current, our request for proposal is out to build out these corridors right now. Applications are due next Friday on the 9th. And so all the technical requirements of these chargers are on there. But ultimately, this grant is going to pay for 5 years of operation and maintenance of these two. And part of that is to build up the local workforce as well and get trained technicians who can work on and maintain these charging stations. To ensure that they are always working.
Yep.
Again, that peace of mind for an EV owner to know that that charging station is up and running.
Yeah, reliability is key, and I think it's a sticking point with potential new buyers of wondering how reliable is this stuff.
Right.
So,
Yep. And so requirement of this grant, the chargers that funded under this grant is a 97% uptime. And so they have to be running 97% of the time in order to get that reimbursement for those grant funds.
and so these are the first corridors. Can you tell me what the dots on the map are?
That's why I'm here today. So currently we've identified the two corridors. That's round one. Round two is going to be coming, and that's where we want Minnesota's input on where we want the next round of these fast chargers to go. We want to know where people are traveling, where they're going, where they're having trouble finding chargers. And so, like I expected today, we're getting a lot of dots around Ely, around the 169 corridor, a lot of interest in building out that same reliability throughout Minnesota. So once we get this first round of grants out the door, we'll start looking at round two and planning on where we're going to do this round two of grant funding for.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here.
And thanks for coming. We're looking forward to building this out and adding that reliability to EV owners.
My name is O'Neill. I live up here in Ely, Minnesota, and I drive a 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E. It is fully electric. I've had it for just over 2.5 years, and I love it. It's my daily driver, has been for about 2.5 years. I have a lot of data that indicate the range, the cost of ownership. I've never had a range anxiety problem. Never had any problems. Charge at the house, never had a problem. I charge 220 at the house, but I have a secondary, second level 1 charger I carry with me, and that's wired in. I just extension cord to 110. So if I go someplace to work, to someone else's house, I can plug up to 110, and if nothing else, maintain battery charge, and then warm the cabin in the wintertime if need be.
So if you've had it for a couple of years, you've been through a real winter, unlike this winter.
Yeah.
Can it handle, the big snows and things like that?
It's been wonderful. So to answer your question, yes, it handles snow and ice wonderfully. My vehicle, this one, is extended range battery. It's got all-wheel drive with decent snow tires, decent tires in general, but good snow tires. This vehicle, with the battery as low as it is, and with the vehicle dynamics as aerodynamic as they are, it's a wonderful vehicle. It handles great in the snow. No vehicle handles very well on the ice, but in terms of general handling, this is amazing. This vehicle, it hugs corners, and it does not want to turn in or kick out, as far as I can tell. It just hugs the road.
Fantastic. This is a CCS vehicle. In this part of the state, there isn't a ton of charging, but there are some level 2s and things around. How have you found that, as you travel around, how is finding charging? And
it definitely takes some planning. So I live here in Ely. This vehicle stays around Ely, so charge at the house. However, here at Dairy Queen in Ely, they recently put in 6 new EV chargers, 4 new Tesla chargers, 2 J1772 chargers. There are 2 1772 chargers at the Ely Library. There's one at the International Wolf Center. There's one out at, I think, Boy Scout Camp or somewhere else. And then the Adventure Inn here in town has 2 EV chargers for their guests. So in Ely, there are several trickle chargers, like level 1 chargers. They're not fast chargers. There are no fast chargers in Ely. When traveling out of town, it takes a little bit of planning. However, in my experience with this vehicle, late spring, summer, into fall, I have never gotten fewer than about 300 miles of realizable range on a single charge.
Wow.
So in the summertime, we came back from the Bloomington hotel next to the Mall of America after the State Fair last year. We started with 100% charge at the hotel, drove to Hibbing, pick up a vehicle, then I drove to the house here in Ely. That trip was just over 300 miles, and I got to the house with somewhere between 40 and 50 miles of range expectation remaining. So under those conditions, in this vehicle, the realizable range would have been at a minimum 350 miles. This Mach-E has always, in my experience, overperformed in terms of mileage range estimate every single time.
That's
It
fantastic.
has never underperformed. When driving long distances, say to the Twin Cities or down to see my mom in Wilmer, it's a planning event. We can plan where the fast chargers are. We can search through the Ford app or through Google Maps. Google Maps tends to be a little more updated in terms of charger functionality assessment, but it does take some planning to know where the chargers are, where the fast chargers are, choosing hotels based on whether or not they have EV charging infrastructure, and then planning return trip, knowing traffic patterns on weekends. More people going north on a Friday, more people going south on a Sunday. I tend to be the opposite, heading south on a Friday, heading north on a Sunday, and then understanding times of day and travel intensity and where chargers are. It does take some planning to go long distances.
Sure.
But say to go to Duluth and back, Duluth has an EV charging parking lot that we can plug up to a fast charger with no additional cost, or one of several level 2 slower chargers, no additional cost. But the question there is functionality.
Mhm.
So if they're functional, plug up, charge, no additional cost, walk around Duluth for a while, come back, no range anxiety whatsoever.
So as more people are buying EV, as more people are vacationing, traveling, are you finding on those weekend trips that stations are becoming more busy or getting congested, or is the infrastructure kind of keeping up with the pace of adoption?
In my experience, no. The infrastructure is not keeping up with EV adoption. The fast chargers that exist between Ely and where I would go, either the Twin Cities or Wilmer, regardless of route, over the course of the last couple of years, they have become more congested. It is more likely to wait in line, right? And I know this sounds like, oh, Crimea, but it's getting to be a little bit of a troublesome event periodically, because not always is the functionality of the charger updated in either the app or Google Maps. And if chargers are not functional, that concentrates other EVs at functional chargers. Waits tend to be longer. I'm hoping for the day where there's something like the Holiday Station, and not banks of fuel pumps, but banks of fast chargers.
Mhm.
And I can't imagine that day is too far off, because I can't count. It would take 3 or 4 hands the number of times I've heard questions at charging stations here and there, between here and Wilmer and the cities. The question is, after people find out I'm from Ely, the question is always, when is Ely going to get a fast charger? Folks want to take a day trip up to Ely and then drive back to St. Paul. They want to take a day trip up to Ely and hang out and drive back to the house. But you can't do that without stopping to charge at some of the slower chargers for several hours
Yeah.
to then make it another few hundred miles, if one doesn't want to risk not being able to stop at a fast charger because of functionality or overcrowding.
Ford just announced, well, they announced it last year, but Jim Farley just recently was talking about the adapters for V3 superchargers
Yeah.
for Tesla's charging are going to start being able to be reserved and be distributed this spring.
Yep.
So is that something that's you're looking forward to? That's going to help everyone gets a free one if they've got a VIN. So, but I think that's a great move by Ford.
To answer your question, do I think that's a good idea? Will I take it? Yes, absolutely. And the reason for that is, again, my only family lives down in Wilmer, and just recently, within the last year, Tesla put in a bank of EV chargers down along the side of a parking lot near Target in Wilmer.
Yep.
The only EV chargers within, like, I don't know, 50 or 60 or 70 miles are now in Wilmer. With the exception of those, there weren't EV chargers for like 100 miles. I'm excited about that because now, when I drive down to see my mom, I don't have to worry about being at this one hotel, the only one in the region that has an EV charging station. I could go use the Tesla EV chargers for whatever cost it is. Normal cost for a fast charger, that's fine with me. Having that luxury in Wilmer is now a wild benefit to me. And on that topic too, in the recent Inflation Reduction Act, IRA, there are funds to develop a larger charging network.
Mm-hmm.
And the funds are distributed to companies that can do that. But Tesla is now one of the primary recipients of those funds to increase development of their charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
I can't see a day when there's going to be extraordinary crowding at Tesla chargers with the federal funding that is now available to Tesla to increase their charger network, because they've got such a vast network and they've done so well within their own right. So rightfully so, give them the money to do it. They've proven they can. Let's get it done. So as soon as we're able, I do have my Tesla adapter.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
Well, our opportunity charge turned into a big charge. We got to about 94% and just unplugged here and time to move the car.
I'm Elijah Olson with Treehouse Broadband. This is a Treehouse Broadband Rivian. My brother owns it. Just a little local internet company here, and I drive for work all the time. So.
And that's right here in Ely, right?
Yep. Yeah, right downtown. We have a little building, a little shop down there, and then we charge it overnight, and pretty much we charge it probably once a week in the summer, and we're good to go all morning and never have to go to a gas station, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, fantastic. So in your daily drives, are you staying mostly close to town, or are you going out in the country and into the depths of the woods, or what's the daily use for this?
Yeah, I'd probably say like most of it's like 30 miles out of town. In that radius is our big like internet area that we service. So 60 miles from edge to edge. Sometimes we'll do that a few times in a day if we go out, diagnose a problem, drive back to the shop, get our new equipment, and then head back out there. In the winter we do that also, and summer, winter, whatever, doesn't really matter the weather. And then sometimes we'll take it a little bit more off road, where there's some places that some dirt roads, not very well maintained roads, and it's sweet. We can it has an air ride suspension, so we can jack it up a little bit if we need to. Through unplowed snow sometimes. Earlier this year I was out repeater site that they don't plow their summer cabin, and so we just had to drive up there, and probably 7 inches of snow and no problem. So, yeah.
Nice. Is this the first winter you've had it?
So we got it last December, I think, last November, December. So this is kind of our second season, our second winter having it. We've had it for almost one full winter, and then now this winter's not been much of a winter, but
right, yeah.
But yeah, and I love it in the winter. Get the climate control on our phone in the morning when we go roll into the shop, get it defrosted, heated seats on, and then we're ready to go by the time we get out there in the morning. Get all our tools and everything, and then we're good to go. We don't have to preheat it, in terms of having it running outside, spewing carbon monoxide or whatever into our shop or whatever in that area, and no one really knows it's running. You wouldn't know that it's heating up, but it's pretty sweet to use it.
That's fantastic. How have your customers' reactions been?
Overall,
or do they even know it's electric?
yeah, most people want to just talk about it. So I'd say the joke is we get 30% less work done when we drive it places because everyone wants to talk about it and see every little thing. Some people don't know. Some people say it's a weird looking truck when they see the front of it. Most people like it and want to know more about it. One thing that I really like about it is that it has outlets in it. So we run a vacuum for sucking internet lines through conduit or whatever we need to do, and we can just plug in if we can't find, you know, a customer outlet on their house or something like that. We just run an extension cord from our own truck, which is pretty sweet.
How is the frunk, the storage spaces? How have you found those to be?
Yeah, the gear tunnel is sweet. Whenever there's anything that you don't really want, say like, I don't know, we have a chainsaw. Sometimes, you know, there's always sawdust on that, and we throw it in the gear tunnel. You can just vacuum out the gear tunnel. You don't have to have it in the rest of the cabin. We also pull a lot of, you know, small heavy machinery with it. We have a little vibratory plow. It can pull like 11,000 pounds. So between the spools of either fiber optic or conduit that we pull, or our trencher, or like a little skid steer mini excavator, it's sweet to be able to pull that everywhere. I don't really use the frunk that much. That's more for like other stuff where we don't want tools in there. It's more like, well, they put like an extension cord in there, or, you know, some clothing or something that we don't want to get dirty. Usually the back of the gear tunnel is our spot that we get a little bit more dirty. A lot of like trailer hitches in the gear tunnel. If we need a different size, we just throw it in the other size in the gear tunnel. There's also a little spare tire, or not little, but a spare tire holder in the back underneath the bed. That if you take the spare tire out, you can put other stuff in there too. We just happen to have a spare. The cool little thing is you can make it a little ice bath for like your drinks at a party for tailgating. There's a little plug on the bottom that you can pull. We don't really use that for purpose, but we could use it for other stuff. Yes. Once we'll have a treehouse party or something, and we'll get that going. But yeah, the gear tunnel is definitely my favorite part about it in terms of like storing anything.
And comfortable to drive even on the bumpy roads and everything with the air suspension?
Oh yeah, my brother has a Tesla as well, and so I've driven that a little bit, and it's a night and day difference. This thing, you can set the suspension as a soft, medium, and hard suspension, and then it also is self-leveling. So when you pull anything or you're hauling anything in the back that's heavy, it will automatically level it out, and then, you know, give you a ride that's comfortable. Usually super comfortable. Any other car you get in, it's I wish every car had an air ride suspension, but. And then there's also an air compressor. Because of the air ride, we have an air compressor that we can tap into. So if, you know, our trailer tires are a little low, or our own tires are a little low, or we want to de-air them to go off-roading or something, then you can throw air in all four of them from the back. I really enjoy driving it, and it's sweet to have, even in the winter or in the summer. Doesn't really matter. It's just a sweet truck to have. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Well,
my name is Hudson Kingston. I'm legal director at an organization called CURE that works on rural environmental issues, mostly in Minnesota and around the country, really. And yeah, I was one of the people that helped to organize this event. I'm an electric vehicle owner, and I am excited for people in northern Minnesota to learn more about these cars.
Fantastic. And it's been a great event today. We're kind of winding down now. The sun's starting to peak.
Yeah.
But what made you choose your EV, and how did you get into electric vehicles, and why?
Yeah. So we started off with a Nissan Leaf when we lived down in the Twin Cities, but since moving up here, we are a 2-vehicle household now, being rural Minnesotans. We have a 2017 Bolt and a 2019 Kona Electric. And we just think they're really great cars for where we live and our use case. We don't do a lot of long road trips, but if we do, we know that we can figure out a way to get there with our electric cars. After we had the Leaf, you know, we just didn't really want to consider going back to having a gas-powered car. It's just so much more of a comfortable vehicle for day-to-day use. The acceleration is really cool, and you know, it's good to have a car that you know is very efficient and is, you know, on measure, I think better for the environment than a more traditional kind of car. We picked this Kona after we had the Bolt because they are pretty similar cars. We wanted someday we will own a car with higher clearance and all-wheel drive. But being rural Americans who are also frugal, we are very interested in getting used cars. And so we got this Kona last year when the first federal rebate for used electric cars became available. So we talked to Pavel at GS Motors and got the car the car of our dreams, I guess. I drove like 4 or 5 Konas that he had gotten at that point, and this one seemed like the right one.
How's it been? We haven't had much of a winter, but
Yeah.
it sounds like the clearance is an issue, but the rest of it's okay. Handling everything?
The last 2 winters were brutal, so I can speak to it based on that. Those were snowy winters that never ended, and yeah, I mean, mostly driving the Bolt. It's got about 6 inches of clearance. This Kona is very similarly sized. It has 6.2 inches of clearance, and 0.2 doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But yeah, we live on a dirt road that feeds onto a county highway. So we have to have a car that both can, has get up and go to get on the highway, but also can do well on dirt road with thick snow cover, and that is certainly plowed professionally, but not always plowed on time. So yeah, they're very good in the snow, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously. They're heavy cars, and if you have the right tires on them, they're just little tanks in the snow. So I had many mornings, especially last winter, where I used my Bolt to plow about a quarter mile of road that had not been plowed yet. And it's just part of being a rural person, dealing with the weather and the road conditions that we have up here.
With 2 EVs, I assume you charge at home.
Yeah.
But how have you found charging in town? We have the new chargers here, but different places in town. Have you ever had any issues or any need for any of that?
Certainly around your own home where you can charge at home, it's not really an anxiety-inducing thing. We've had long-time chargers at the Ely Public Library, which were, I think, provided part of a grant from Minnesota Power. So that's been sort of the anchor chargers in town. They have some out at the Wolf Center now. There's obviously 6 new chargers here, which is a great investment by the owners of DQ. Yeah, I mean, I think my anxiety about chargers really has been that the fastest charger in Virginia, Minnesota does get broken occasionally, and when it gets broken, it stays broken for months at a time. And that's really an issue, I think, about availability of parts and also availability of labor to get it fixed. So I think, especially up here at the end of the road, I'm excited about seeing more level 2 chargers, about having, places where people who are visiting from far can get their charge and not feel the anxiety that there's only 2 chargers in town and they can't charge as they thought they would. Someday we will have super fast chargers up here in Ely, but I mean, it's not, especially as being someone who lives here, that's not as much of a concern for me. I'm not in a situation where I come into town with no charge and I immediately have to charge up to go somewhere else. And the beyond Ely, you can only go another 50 miles if you're going out on the Fernberg, so there's not that much farther to go. I think this is going to be something that works better and better for rural people, like places like Ely. I'm especially thinking about our rural postal delivery folks. Like, they have to use their own personal cars, and they have a set route every day. My postal carrier drives 63 miles a day, and I mean, it's not, one vehicle is not that much pollution, but it'd be great for both his health and for everybody for him to be driving an electric vehicle that was dependable and could take him through that route on a day-to-day basis. So I'm hoping that the information gets out to people that they can afford a used electric vehicle today, or, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can afford a new electric vehicle today, but I just want people to know that these vehicles are here, they're available, and they work in even the coldest weather we have.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much. And this is a Silverado. I haven't seen one of these in person yet.
I'm John Sullivan with Minnesota Power. I lead our electric vehicle programs, and Minnesota Power is an electric utility that serves northern Minnesota.
This is the first time I'm seeing the Silverado EV.
Yeah.
When did you get it? How do you like it? And is this the only one you have?
No. So it's not surprising this is the first time you've seen it. We were one of the first in the state to receive delivery of an electric vehicle, the Silverado EV. And from my understanding, they're only producing it right now for fleet purposes. So we received this particular one about 3 weeks ago, one of 5. So we now have 5 in our fleet. And I'm fairly certain that we have 2 more that may be coming shortly, but right now we have 5 available for our operations.
Excellent. And what exactly are those operations? Is this all just in-town stuff, or are you going out? Is it for towing, for line work, for principal uses?
The core stuff like line work and things like that, we still have our vehicles, line trucks, things like that, that'll be there. From my understanding and talking with our fleet operators, this is going to be used for like underground locating, our distribution service representatives that will go out and assist customers with designing services. It'll also be used by some of the linemen to do some work, but there's the core line trucks and all that will still be used. This will be more for the lighter duty side of things, and that'll include towing and other things of that nature for sure. Yeah, and it's economical. I mean, you think about operations wise, the fuel savings going with electric compared to gas, if the range fits the need, super economical. The maintenance piece too. I mean, I think you're probably familiar with that, with oil changes and brakes and things of that nature. And it's more than capable to fulfill the needs for a lot of the use cases we have for this type of size vehicle.
So with this being one of 5 so far in the fleet, have you installed level 2 charging at a facility, or is that in the works? Or
Yep, we've had Chevy Bolts in our fleet for a while. They've been just awesome for a lot of the round-of-town work when we're doing customer site visits. So we've had those for years. So we've already have level 2 chargers installed basically at all of our facilities, including our fleet operation centers. And with these new additions, we will be adding some more of that. And then we're also assessing the installation of some DC fast charging at our service centers as well.
Okay, great. So if somebody needs to come in from a job and go right back out, they'll be able to.
Level 2 will still be the primary because, that's going to be convenient. They come in after a day, it'll charge overnight in the carports. But certainly having that DC fast charging, especially our territory stretches a fair amount from Duluth all the way up to International Falls, and then from Duluth down to Hinckley, and then all the way out to Little Falls, Long Prairie area. So it does stretch quite a frame long ways. So if we have people that are visiting from one of those more rural spots or out of town, coming to Duluth, for example, it'd be nice to have some fast charging so that we can make sure they get back, especially if they're towing something, things of that nature. But level 2 will still, I would imagine, still fit the bill for the majority of our needs.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You obviously drove this here today.
Yes.
Are you driving it frequently, or do you have other people on the team that are driving it, and what are their reactions as they get used to these?
For sure. Well, it's pretty new. This one's been here about 3 weeks, so we're excited to get it out in the field. But my experience so far in the limited time I've had has been fantastic. We're fully charged when we left Duluth. We had 450 miles range. We drove 100 miles roughly to get up here. We still have 350 miles range left. So, it's warmer than it should be right now, but the performance from a range loss perspective was fantastic today. And I can tell you for our other fleets with the Bolts and things of that nature where we have a lot more experience, the feedback's been very, very good on that. And I fully anticipate, very positive feedback with these vehicles as well.
Fantastic. Is there any other things, things you love about the truck, don't like about the truck, or, just like getting used to it?
No, I mean, it's hard to say. I'm sure as we kind of learn and we start using them, there'll be things we don't like or do like more than others. On paper, it's going to fit the bill. Towing capacity is more than adequate for this type of vehicle in our use case. The economics and the maintenance piece of it is fantastic from an operations perspective. We're really excited about it. But I think as we go along, we'll probably find some things that maybe aren't quite perfect or things of that nature, but hopefully overall we're over the moon happy with it. I will say in general from an electric utility, it's wonderful that we have this opportunity, and I think ultimately it's not only an opportunity to embrace electrification, but I think there's real financial and economical reasons why this makes a lot of sense, especially considering we have a lot of use cases with our operations where it can fit really well.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks to everyone who was willing to be interviewed. It was a great event with lots of attendees and good conversations. Thanks to Drive Electric Minnesota, the Great Plains Institute, Dairy Queen, and all the organizers. We checked into our hotel, Joan got a quick swim, then we went out to dinner with Todd and Glenn, who are also staying the night in Ely. The next morning we were up early so Joan could get another swim before we left. It's a nice pool area, but too many other kids were around for filming. After we dried off and took a look at this beautiful view from our room, it was time to see what remained of the ice sculptures in town after all the warm temps. Alright, we are just about to leave Ely. Joan, did you have fun up here? Yeah? Okay. Went swimming this morning. We just checked out the cool ice sculptures that are still holding up despite the warm weather. It's 27 degrees here. We're at 78%. Yesterday, charging up at Dairy Queen, we got to about 94. Then driving around cold and Sentry mode. We're now down to 78. Preconditioning this morning too. Not a big deal. Just navigated home and it's saying we've got 15 minutes in Carlton and 10 minutes in North Branch, but I don't know if our bladders will make it. We are going to play it by ear, no rush, just enjoying the nice sunny day. Alright, back in Carlton with 11% at the casino here. It is 12:42. We stopped and grabbed some lunch to eat as we're here. 37 degrees Fahrenheit, so still very warm. Since our last charge, 126 miles, 377 watt-hours per mile. And our overall trip so far is 393 miles, 361 watt-hours per mile. Let's plug in. So this is going to be a pretty quick stop. It was originally saying do like 15 minutes here and then 10 in North Branch. Right now it's saying stay here for 40 minutes and then go all the way home. We're definitely going to need a restroom break, stretch stop between there, either Hinckley or North Branch. So we're going to stick to a pretty short stop here, eat lunch, use the restroom, and then get on our way. Okay, well that stop did end up being a little longer. We had a bathroom emergency we had to take care of that ate up a little time. So we're at 76%. It's 1:07 p.m. We're still gonna have to make a restroom stop somewhere between here and home. Let's unplug and get going. So right now it's saying we can make it all the way home with 4%. I have a feeling we're going to need to use the restroom sometime between here and home though.
Yes.
So that's fine. We'll play it by ear. 53 miles since Carlton, 371 watt-hours per mile, 446 so far on the trip. It's 154, 46. We just need to be here a couple minutes to give a little buffer on the way home, and then we're gone. So, bathroom break should take care of that. And we're back under the sun. These V2s take a little bit to charge up. Now we're rolling. There's Toby's, and let's grow. 209, we got up to 79% and on our way home. 46 degrees, crazy. I was just about to pull out from Hinckley and realized we'll get home with 34%. So just in the time we walked over to the gas station, used the restroom, bought something, and came back, our projection of what we're going to get home with has raised immensely, even on a V2 station. So pretty easy road tripping. Alright, home with 36% at 3:34. Was over 50 degrees on the drive down here, now it's 49. The total trip was 544 miles with an average of 349 watt-hours per mile. And that last stretch was 97 miles at 291. So good weather, good averages. Would have been even better, but we spent a lot of time on the trip just sitting in the car with the heat on and running games and stuff like that. So all good. A good weekend adventure. Glad to be home a little early. Here's another look at those final stats, and only 4 fast charging stops on this trip, so just an average of 22.5 minutes. Again, we overcharged in a lot of those with family things. And as you heard from the interviews, there's lots of opportunities to level 2 slower charge up in Ely, but no fast chargers yet. So it's an easy trip if you're going to be in town for a while, and if you live there, it's even easier. You just charge at home. Thanks to everyone who took the time to talk to me, and again, look for more Drive Electric Minnesota events throughout the year. One other note about the Wolf Center, I didn't shoot a lot there because there's cool displays and all sorts of fun stuff. It's worth a trip, but I don't want to spoil too much. Seeing the wolves interact and kind of that wrestle for dominance was, I think, cool enough on its own. Our next adventure starts tomorrow as this is released, and Joan and I are going to run up to Williston, North Dakota to deliver some tires and see some friends. That adventure will be on the channel in the next week or so, so subscribe if you haven't to keep up with that, and all of the exciting trips we have planned for this summer road tripping in our Model Y. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks for watching, happy road tripping, and I'll catch you in the next one.